Hello. I'm about to ruin everything for you with big spoilers, so be aware. Now, I've seen the live-action Snow White, and let me tell you, Gal Gadot is wretched. I don't like her as the evil queen, and I'll tell you why. Just expect the evil queen to be more evil and delight. The sinisterness is to delight in her plans to put Snow White to her sleeping death. This is what she's longing for. This is the one big thing that she's after. And she's just focused on this vision, and it's just fueling the flames of her fury, and she wants nothing more than to go to Snow White and deliver this apple, and it should be with great delight and joy and glee that she's about to descend on this innocent child and deliver her to her sleeping death. And I didn't get that. And it was very disappointing. Gal Gadot, you missed your mark. You missed the scene. So I'm back from watching the live action Snow White film, and I've got to tell you, it is nothing like what they've been saying it was. Now, was it fantastic? No. Was it wretched and horrible? No. It was straight down the middle of all of that. So let me tell you, there were some pleasant surprises in this. In the beginning, the opening number where they're singing and dancing, and it's with Snow White's parents, is so cheesy and over the top and cringy. I hated it, and I was so I thought to myself, I hate this already. Oh gosh, what's the rest of the film going to be like? I hated it so much. It was High School Musical, maybe even a college theatrical production, not a big Disney film. And I was like, this would be seen on maybe an episode of Glee. It was not good at all. I felt the performers were not even Broadway standard. It was really bad, and I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna even be able to sit through the whole movie if it's like this. So then we get to the scene where Rachel Zegler enters into the movie, and okay, let me just say, throughout the film, her musical numbers, they were phenomenal. Her voice, she has the beautiful voice. Like, I'm not a Rachel Zegler hater. I don't dislike her or love her. I just think she sings so beautifully, and she performed those songs just gorgeous. So effortlessly when she was singing. It was so natural and effortless for her, and just beautiful, beautiful. Her voice soared, and she had all of the inflections, and it wasn't Broadway, and it wasn't High School Musical. It was a film production. She was just beautifully done. Those were my favorite parts of the film, were her musical numbers. Now, she did have a few costume changes. The rags dress was an interesting take. I did like that costume. It was an interesting take on the animated version. I felt it was a cute costume for her. And then, you know, just her acting wasn't as good as her singing. Her acting didn't make me cringe, but there were some moments where she was better, at her acting than others. And I do realize that she was working in an empty room. Like she was working, there were no dwarves and there were no animals. There were, you know, she was alone in a lot of this. So I think she did the best she could during those parts. But there were other moments where she was interacting with actors and she just wasn't sweet enough, I guess. She wasn't this sweet girl that I feel should have been for Snow White, but she did do a relatively good job. Again, my favorite parts of hers were her singing numbers. And then you have the bandits who everybody thought were going to be the original dwarves and that they were recast and then they were CGI. These were not dwarves. There is one dwarf character there, but these were not the original dwarves. These are the bandits, and they're led by Jonathan, who is played by Andrew. I can't remember his name. I'll put it up here. His number was so fun. I loved his performance that he gave. He was such a good Jonathan character. He's not, of course, a prince in shining armor. He is a bandit and he serves under the one true king, her father. And I don't know, he just seems so, he's so likable and funny, and I just really liked him. And then there's a number where both he and Rachel have this duet and it's beautifully done. Their voices blend so well, and I felt he gave a really good performance. I could feel what he was feeling. I could see it on his face. He was really a good character. Love his number though, Princess Problems. He was so sarcastic. He's just great. And then there's the bandits who dance and interact with the CGI dwarves. I felt that was a cute and lively scene when they do the silly song. Though some of these moments that they incorporated from the original film, such as the hi-ho song and this silly song, Whistle While You Work, those numbers really did represent the original film, the animated film, though it was a different take on that. I enjoyed those. I felt the hi-ho song was a bit unusual because we're in the mine with the dwarves, and the dwarves were just not good. We needed real actors in these roles. You know, like there were certain parts where they were cutesy and stuff, but most of the time they looked distorted and weird and off, and I couldn't connect with them at all. I felt, you know, it was so fake. I couldn't connect with these characters. So I really wish there were live actors that played these roles. But there's also the scene with the animals. Now, a lot of people were upset. They're using CGI for everything. CGI animals, CGI dwarves, you know, on and on. For the animals, I completely understand it, because in the animated film, these animals are doing things that normal animals aren't going to do. I know I couldn't get my dog to do probably 2 of the things that they asked these CGI animals to do. So there's a deer, there's a turtle, there's lots of birds, there's squirrels and rabbits, and I mean, it's so cute. The CGI animals are adorable, and I love the bunnies and how they open the door and they're all hopping around and their little eyes get big and their ears go back, and they're just cute animals. And I understand that CGI animals are needed to be able to open a door and go up the stairs and pull back covers and clean up the house, and there's no way you're going to be able to get a bunny rabbit to do these things. So that was fine with me. I thought those were cute numbers. And again, her singing number with Whistle While You Work, it was a different take. but she delivered it. She sings so beautifully. I wish the whole thing had been just about her singing because there were parts that were so, they dragged on. They were a little boring. And then there were other ones that were really over the top and in your face. So it was kind of a roller coaster ride with this film. And then the whole thing with the Prince Charming and no one's going to save her. You know, that's not at all what happened in this film. Just because Jonathan wasn't a prince, they really focused on their attention on it being that Snow White is the princess. So it wasn't a prince, it was about a princess, which is true because Snow White is a princess. And Jonathan is, you know, a really good supporting role in this where he's part of this bandit team, but he does take a bullet for her. And, you know, he seeks out to protect her and help her in her quest. And everyone wants the evil queen to go away. They want the kingdom restored. So it's really a group effort. It's not like a one woman, you know, I am woman, hear me roar type of thing. It's just the fact that she's the princess and she is the only one capable of actually taking the kingdom back. So they go to help her do this. But Jonathan does take a bullet for her, and, you know, he gets locked in the dungeon and he fights his way out. And he does, in fact, help her in her fight and her stand against Snow White. But it is Snow White's moment because the evil queen and Snow White, you know, they go toe to toe in this thing. But I really liked his character. I felt that the two of them had really nice chemistry. They were, you know, the singing number was beautiful and they were believable. And then when he found her there and she had already eaten the apple and he went to kiss her, it was true to the story. Like, he kissed her and he was grieving. The dwarves were grieving and he kissed her and she woke up and everyone was happy and it was a beautiful moment. So it did play true to the film, which I loved. The cottage was adorable. The dwarves' beds, the kitchen area, the stairs, all of that was beautiful. The cottage was a little bigger than what I imagined it to be, because when you're at Disneyland Anaheim, the cottage is not very big, and when you're watching the animated film, it's not that big. But in this, it looked like, you know, almost a 3-story mansion. It was really oversized, but it was beautiful inside. So I really enjoyed it. And then, of course, Snow White at the end. She is brave. She does stand up to the evil queen and she doesn't flinch. She stands her ground and she stands there and she has the whole village backing her. But, you know, she really does stand her ground and she helps everyone remember who they really are and what is it that they really believe. And they were able to scare and run off the evil queen. So and then there's another touching moment at the end when, you know, the evil queen is gone and Snow White is there. There's no coronation scene. There's no crowning scene. There's nothing formal like that. But when she walks out of the room, the mirror, the chamber, evil queen's chamber where the mirror is, when she walks out of the room, and there are the bandits and some of the king's soldiers who were once like bakers and candlestick makers. When they're standing there and she walks out, they bow to her, they honor her, and they show her that they recognize and respect that she is the princess. And there's that one moment where she stops. And I don't think she realized that it would be about her taking over the kingdom. I think she was just fighting to restore her father's kingdom. She always saw her father as the king, that she never really processed that she would be the queen, right? So when they start to bow and honor her, she jumps in a moment to stop them, and then realizes, oh my goodness, the kingdom has been restored and I am the queen. And she's humble and she treats it quietly and gently, and then she just walks out and looks at the kingdom, and it's a new day. To me, the evil queen should have been over the top with her gestures and her voice, and she just wasn't sinister enough. She was vain. She was stoic, more stoic than a villain should be. If you look at it in terms of, let's say Glenn Close in 101 Dalmatians. Now, she was over the top, animated, you know, loud, and had so much depth to the character. Gal Gadot was, she had the regalness down, where she was trying to be very queenly and regal and poised, but this over-the-top, sinister, wicked, evil depth of character was not there at all, not even a hint of it. And when she transformed into the old hag, the crone, this is supposed to be like, if you remember the animation, the room was spinning, the wind was blowing, her hair was all over, she was grabbing her throat, her voice was changing. In this, it was just like, I'm going to walk into the room, I have a goblet ready for me, and I'm just going to put in a few, droppers full of stuff, and then I'm going to drink it, because she says something like, it must. And then the next thing you know it, she's like hunched over. There wasn't this painful, full-on transformation. One minute she's the queen, and then there's a shadow, and the next minute she's hunched over and she's this crone. Now, they said it took 4 hours for her makeup. I can do better makeup in an hour than what they did for her. She looked like just an old lady. I wanted her to look wicked and old and, big nose and chin and that whole bug-eyed look, and, the way she looks in the animation. Here, she just looked like an old peddler woman, of course, is the disguise, but she didn't have eyebrows, so there wasn't really anything to make you afraid of her. You thought it was strange that suddenly she showed up on the doorstep, but she wasn't threatening, she wasn't suspicious, she wasn't, I don't know, she just wasn't the old hag looking to me. And then the whole exchange of the apple, that was pretty bland. This is the crux of the story. I say from the time she transforms until she shows up to give her the apple, that's the climax of the movie, and it just felt like another scene. It was lacking in emotion. She just, all you saw was her hand the apple to Snow White, and Snow White take it, but then she gives this little mini speech about how she remembers her father and how he used to make apple pies and make things for the people, and she wants to do this in remembrance of her father. So she's tugging on those heartstrings to trick Snow White, but Snow White just takes a bite of it and says, I feel weird. And then she's like, yeah, because your father, and it's like, there's no cinematography. The room doesn't, the scene doesn't darken. There's no lightning. There's no wind. It's just another scene in the movie. And it felt very bland, very flat, very boring. No real emotions, no real expressions, no animated storytelling as far as the acting was going. You already knew the story. You already knew what was going to happen. So therefore you knew what was going on. But aside from that, you just didn't get the feeling that something sinister and evil and wicked had happened. She just falls to the ground. And then the old hag laughs. It's like I would have wanted more of a big buildup and scene for this climactic point in the story. And it did not deliver. It did not do anything. The boat ride where the hag is pushing herself out from the dungeons, the bowels of the castle over to the cottage. It was short, it was simple, it was nothingness. This was the moment, and it was nothingness. Another thing is Gal Gadot. Is it Gal Gadot? Gal Gadot? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Her musical number was not good. I'm sorry, it was not good. It was not good. In fact, I'm not so sure. I know it was her singing, and the reason I knew I was listening is, you know, she has this sort of accent, the way she talks, and some of the pronunciations of the words were her. It was in fact Gal Gadot singing. I don't know if they did some sort of, you know, auto-tune on her or what. I don't know. I don't know if Gal Gadot can really sing, but there were times where it was very high school musical type thing, especially with her there on the stairs doing her number. It just didn't feel evil queen. And, you know, the makeup was nice. The costuming was beautiful. She had glitter lipstick on, her jewels, her beads on her cape and her dress. Beautiful costuming. But you're too busy listening to her trying to deliver this song. And I don't know, it fell short. I was not pleased with, maybe it was the arrangement, I don't know, but she had these like goons on the side of the stairs that were expressing and dancing, and then she was singing to her royal guardsmen and the huntsman, and she's like taunting him. She's supposed to be taunting him that she has all the power, but all she's singing about is how her beauty is her power. Now, that's partly true. She's also a witch. She's into alchemy. She, you know, she has all of these spells. Nothing mentioned about spells and potions and the occult and the underworld. Nothing like that at all. It's just all about, I'm beautiful, therefore I have power. If you're beautiful, you're the girl who makes up the rules. Like, what is that? I'm beautiful, so I'm a beautiful girl, so I get to make up the rules, and whatever I say goes. And if I want to kill you, I can kill you. If I want to throw you in the dungeon, I'll throw you in the dungeon. I mean, it was silly nonsense. And it didn't deliver. It didn't translate. Like, it was silly. I could have done without the musical number. And she did a little bit of it as she was the peddler going out of the bottom of the castle there. She's like, la, holding a note, and it just didn't work. It didn't work for me. If she's gonna do a number, I need thunder, lightning, I need the vulture flying around, I need, you know, darker tones to the music, not this da 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 da, this like jazz number, tap dancing number. It needs to be dark, and I'll tell you why, and these like big gestures, but she wants to be like pretty. It didn't work. It's just a completely different take on Snow White. Yeah, I don't know whether to recommend that you go see it or not. I give it a C plus. I just think it failed in a lot of ways. But in other ways, if you're looking at a live action adaptation, focusing the story on Snow White regaining her kingdom, then I would say go see it and you will enjoy the musical numbers. And that's about it. So there you have it. My opinion, the only opinion that matters. My opinion on this evil queen. Gal Gadot, you failed. No, it didn't work. Was she beautiful? Yes. Was she regal? Yes. Was she evil and wicked and sinister and dark? No. D-. And I'm only giving you a D- because the costuming was beautiful.